agreed to adhere to a gag order. Ahead tonight, more scrutiny over their hours of work and rate of pay. Also tonight, hear whether a judge granted bail to a former police corporal convicted of manslaughter last week. And a miracle baby finally gets to go home. All those stories and more straight ahead in the Bahamas tonight.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news tonight, the two sides in the customs and immigration dispute have agreed to adhere to a gag order while they thrash out their differences, primarily over which terms of work, pay, and shift they should be working under. 4 days after they abandoned their posts at the airport, the union has secured a number of meetings with the government as they try and resolve two major outstanding issues. Clint was there today at the Ministry of Labor, when both sides emerged from their first meeting.
That had absolutely nothing to do with overtime. This meeting was all about settling a legal shift system.
Sergeant at Arms for the Bahamas Customs, Immigration and Allied Workers Union, Cordero Edgecombe, says both sides have committed to a number of meetings to address what has become a long-standing issue. The Prime Minister has said that since 1996, officers were hired under the premise they will work shifts, an issue that the union appears not to be contesting.
We have no opposition to persons being hired to be shift workers. Persons from 1996 would have been hired as contract workers for the shift system. Our issue is that there is no legal shift system set up in customs with a proper structure, with all the other legal parameters around it. So we're waiting on the government to put one in place so that we can follow their contracts and become shift workers. Until then, 9 to 5.
Now, interestingly, when we asked the Customs and Immigration Union how they were being paid for hours worked outside of 9 to 5 in the past when they worked those hours, they opted not to speak to us or to comment on that particular issue. Now, we understand that both sides have agreed to a gag order while they're talking. ZNS News has learned that previously officers were paid overtime when called on to work anything over 40 hours Monday to Sunday. That system equated to millions of dollars in overtime. Prime Minister Ingram noted that these officers should be put on shifts 8 to 4, 4 to 12, and in some cases 12 a.m. to 8 a.m., as is done around the world, but would receive overtime if they were required to work more than the 40 hours a week. However, the union is insisting that their hours be 9 to 5, and anything else outside of these hours considered overtime. Labor Minister Dion Folks, although cautious not to say much at this point, seems positive about these latest rounds of talks.
I don't want to add any further views to what's going on now. I thought that we had good talks this morning, and I'm very hopeful that we can bring this matter to a resolution very shortly.
Now, no word given to us yet on when that next meeting will be held. However, the government is saying this is a priority issue for them, and they want to bring resolution as soon as possible. Clint Watson, ZNS News.
Her name is a symbol of what she has already survived after just 8 months of life. More than a month after a history-making procedure here in the Bahamas, Miracle Joseph was released from hospital today. At birth, Miracle was conjoined with what's called a parasitic twin, and on January 25th, doctors performed an 8-hour-long procedure. The surgery was a success, and today her parents, Aussie and Chantell Joseph, walked out of the hospital with their baby girl in their arms.
Everyone for this wonderful day as we see with this baby. Number one, we like to thank the hospital board. We like to thank Dr. Magnus especially, who has bring this possible. Because this baby are here today, I feel really good. I feel really good. And we thank God for that.
Oh, right now, when I'm holding her, I have to take my time to hold my baby because that's my miracle baby girl. So I have to take my time and take care of God.
Now, neurologist Dr. Akididi Magnus led the surgical team. He says he's optimistic that the baby girl will live a long life.
We're thankful to God for His mercy and for His grace for allowing this baby to survive this major operation in spite of all odds. There is nothing that will prevent this baby not to be normal. Look at how gorgeous she is. I'm going to commend the family and to train this baby in the, bring her up in the ways of the Lord, and to love this country who have given them so much.
In other news tonight from the crime beat, investigations continue into the fatal shooting of a 27-year-old man last night. Police say he was found at his Wiley Close home just off Market Street with multiple gunshot wounds about the body. This was just after 10 o'clock last night. He was found at the rear of his home. Police have not released a motive yet as investigations continue. Anyone with information on this latest murder is asked to contact police at 919 or 328-TIPS. Meantime, authorities are looking into two separate stabbings that appear to be domestically related. The two male victims are hospitalized in stable condition. One of the incidents took place in Flamingo Gardens and the other in Excellence Estates. Both attacks were at the hands of women. In the first case, a 32-year-old man of Flamingo Gardens was stabbed to the neck and back by a woman known to him. The second victim, a 35-year-old of Excellence Estates, was stabbed to the back, also by a woman he knew. Both men again listed in stable condition as police continue to investigate. A judge has denied bail to former police corporal Donovan Gardner. A jury convicted Gardner Friday of the manslaughter death of Desmond Key, and the former police officer was hoping to be released on bail pending the hearing of a constitutional motion, but in a written ruling handed down today by Justice Vera Watkins, the court dismissed Gardner's bail application, stating that he may abscond and not return for the hearing, noting that he has been convicted of a serious offense and faces the possibility of a severe penalty, such as life in prison. Justice Watkins also noted that the court has taken the necessary steps to hear and determine Gardner's constitutional issues with, quote, due expedition, end quote, on March 20th, a relatively short waiting period, according to Justice Watkins. Meantime, Gardner remains in custody at the Fox Hill Prison. A firearms expert in the Keith Carey murder trial testified today that two spent 9mm bullets removed from the crime scene back in 2006 had blood on them and came from the same gun. But when questioned, the expert couldn't say whether there were any identifying marks linking the gun to the accused Jamal Clinton. Clinton is accused of shooting Carey as he was about to make a bank deposit outside the Bank of the Bahamas on Tonic-Williams-Darling Highway back in 2006. More testimony is expected tomorrow. The government is to honor outstanding Bahamian icons in a new way and create an area which pays tributes to local heroes. It's the latest reveal from the government's manifesto. Our Shanique Miller reports.
Even as work on the massive New Providence infrastructure improvement project continues, a theme is emerging. On each new highway is a roundabout. But these features will include more than just a fancy design.
In our next term, we're going to intend to name the several of the new roundabouts. We've created a Nassau in honor of Bahamian cultural icons.
Now, for those Bahamians classified as heroes, they will finally have a central location where the population can pay tribute. Ingram says heroes, including the first Governor General of the Bahamas, will finally find a home, something he planned to put in place during this term.
Because of the global economic meltdown, we were unable to develop a National Heroes Park during this term in office. We'll do so next time.
Over the years, there's been much said about documenting the Bahamian story so that it passes on to a younger generation of citizens. Ingram says it's the duty of today's leaders.
It is a matter of national pride and national identity, and the Bahamian story to celebrate and memorialize our national heroes. And we do so to remind every generation from whence we came.
For buildings like Nassau's International Airport, which now bears the name of the country's first Prime Minister, Ingram says the multi-million-dollar transformation presently underway will make the nation's gateway deserving of Sir Lyndon's name.
We are transforming the Lyndon Pillin International Airport into a world-class facility befitting the legacy of the nation's first Prime Minister. The PLP put his name on it. It was run down, broken down. Go and see it today. The FNM put him on the dollar bill, the most frequently used piece of our money.
The Prime Minister talked about the work of Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield and the new office of the Prime Minister that bears his name, then the stadium to honor sports great Thomas Robinson. Even here, more honors are slated.
The new QE Sports Center will also have an area that will serve as a hall of fame for outstanding Bahamian athletes.
Shanique Miller, ZNS News.
Well, still to come in the Bahamas tonight. Fire leaves 60 people homeless, and we'll tell you about a new venture that will safeguard natural resources of the Bahamas. Stay tuned.